As we all know, Sonic X Shadow Generations is just around the corner, releasing this October, and I cannot explain how excited I am. But what I can do is explain exactly what I want to see in the game. So that's what I'm gonna do. To keep things simple and so that I don't have to stay in this closet recording this for longer than I actually need to, I'm going to break things down into 3 segments: gameplay, the stages, and plot. Starting with gameplay, in the footage that Sega has released, one thing that stood out to me was how wide the stages seem and how open they seem. And when I say open, I don't mean like Frontiers with the whole open zone gimmick. I more so mean there's a lot more room to go left and right, and it seems like they're sort of bringing back the classic mentality when it comes to level design as far as different pathways that you can take and different routes. And I really think that'll help with replayability and getting back to the roots of Sonic in mastering the stages and coming back with the new skills as a player to get your runs down faster and faster and more efficient. And I really think with that mentality, it's really going to up the replay value, because Generations originally, at least I feel like, was a game that I went back to replay multiple times because it was so crisp, clean, fun to play, and there was always a new path that I would find out, whether watching some videos online or just replaying the stage over and over again, trying different skills out. So I really want to see the new and returning powers be integrated into the stages and allow for players to each take their own paths. Now, it doesn't have to be branching, but at least give us different options to hit the end goal. Give us different ways to do it. And speaking of ways to do things, let's talk about the powers. So we'll start with the returning powers. We've got Chaos Spear, but I think it's called Doom Spear now. The homing attack, as per usual, Shadow has his unique homing attack in comparison to Sonic, where he teleports. I always thought that was pretty cool. Seems like he does the whole chest bump thing before he does it, his attack. And of course, we've got the boost, and I'm assuming maybe a spin dash, maybe. But the highlight is the new Doom powers. As of right now, I think we've seen Doom Wings, Doom Morph, I think is what it's called. It's the squid looking one, like a jellyfish maybe, and then the Doom Manta Ray. I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't think these have been named yet. If they've been named, I haven't seen it, but they all seem to be like related to animals, which makes sense because Shadow is a hedgehog and he's infused with Doom powers as he is. So in my mind, I'm not sure if it's gonna be just, oh, this stage has this power featured, or this stage has this power featured, or if it'll be kind of like how Sonic Colors was, where as you unlock different Wisp abilities, you could go back to previous stages. And use those new abilities to unlock different sections of the stage. I think that'd be really cool. Like maybe in Rail Canyon, you can use the Doom Wings to get around, but there's this secret section where you can use the Doom Morph ability and climb up a cliff or something. Like, allowing each player to get to the end goal in their own unique way or have fun in different ways. I think that'd be really interesting with these new powers. And I'm sure there's more that we haven't seen. Just going along with the whole animal motif, I think it'd be really funny if Shadow got his own set of like stretchy arms like Sonic did in Unleashed. So he gets like the Doom tentacle Venom arms, and you can like shoot them out and like stretch and climb on stuff and things like that. I think it'd be really funny. Chaos Control is also making its return in this game. We've seen Chaos Control in the past, but it's been pretty selective in its use. In Shadow the Hedgehog, Chaos Control, or Chaos Blast, had a utility for speeding through the stage or just eradicating everything on screen. Sonic Heroes had a rendition of Chaos Control, and that also was just eliminating everything on screen. But in this game, it seems like they're really trying to lean into the actual abilities of it, like we saw in SA2, where Shadow can stop time. We got to see this in SA2, where, the famous, oh, he's using the Emerald to warp, happened. But this time we as players get to do it, and I think that's really fun. So I'm wondering if there'll be more ways to use Chaos Control outside of just stopping time to make rockets platforms like we saw in the demo, but instead maybe we get to use Chaos Blast again, and maybe we can destroy certain objects in the stage to open up new pathways and things like that. I think it'd be really fun. I also don't know how it works, if it works off of like a meter that just refills over time, or if it's ring based, or maybe enemies. I feel like depending on how you get that chaos energy back would really determine the overall utility of it. But I'm really excited to see how they go about that. But overall, I feel like things as of right now are looking really good. We're just gonna have to wait and see. There's no telling if this is going to be a fun integration, if things are going to be pretty stale. But as of right now, I'm excited. I think that's enough about gameplay. I'm starting to get a cramp curled up in this closet, so we'll talk about the stages. Earlier I mentioned Rail Canyon. That is one of the stages that have been confirmed. We also know that we're getting Radical Highway, the Arc, Kingdom Valley, and Chaos Island of all things. I think I saw somewhere online that this is canon, so Shadow has visited Chaos Island that we saw in Frontiers before the events of Frontiers. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if that was accurate. I might have dreamed it. I don't know. But that is an interesting pick. I guess we'll start with Radical Highway. This one makes sense. This is the first stage we've ever played with Shadow, featured in SA2. Not much really to say. I think it'd be really interesting to see some of the sequences that we saw in SA2 make a return, or maybe put a little spin on things. Just the same formula that Generations already has, but with Shadow. I can't really ask for too much there. Rail Canyon is a personal favorite of mine. I would have preferred maybe Egg Fleet from Heroes, but I think Rail Canyon is a decent Heroes representation. I'm glad that we do get to see the trains and kind of that similar aesthetic. I personally would hope that maybe they throw in a little bit of the follow-up stage, Bullet Station, since Heroes worked on a dual stage, kind of Act 1, Act 2 per world, quote unquote. I want to see a little bit of Bullet Station. Maybe there's a gimmick where you're shooting out of cannons and things like that. Kind of like how Seaside Hill, you got to see a little bit of Ocean Palace in there towards the end. That kind of encompassed Act 1 and Act 2 of the original set of stages. So I really want to see that from Rail Canyon. The Arc makes sense. We get to see the Arc. We actually saw the Arc again in Shadow the Hedgehog outside of the original showing in SA2. And I believe in that game the Arc was kind of decrepit, and it was, obviously it's after the events of SA2. This one appears to be the original Arc. I'm wondering if maybe we'll get to see some of the decrepitness in the Arc. I don't know when this is going to be taking place. I'm assuming it's going to be the Arc from SA2. I can't complain about that. The Arc had fun stages. I think it was Final Rush and something else. I can't remember right now, but we've seen the Arc in 3 different lights. We've seen the original in the past in Shadow the Hedgehog, and I guess technically the present, where it's like all run down, also in Shadow the Hedgehog. So they've got a lot of inspiration to pull from with that. It seems like there's going to be maybe mid-level cutscenes or something like that. So maybe they can do something fancy with the times, or maybe we get to destroy the Ark somehow, or, something like that. Moving on to Kingdom Valley, the 06 representative. Kingdom Valley, fun stage. In the original, I think that is probably one of the more memorable stages from that game. I like that they brought back the gimmick with the bald eagle. That's always been fun. I like the wind rails. They're really kind of leaning into what made that stage so unique, with the vine jumping and things like that. They even had the scene where you jump through the painted window. Like, they really seem to be paying attention to those little details that really stand out per stage, and I love that. The only ask that I have is maybe towards the end, just like in the original stage, at least for Sonic, we got to see that Mach Speed section. Now, I doubt they would have a quote-unquote Mach Speed section in this generation style game, but at least give us a section towards the end where Shadow can maneuver somehow through the waterfall area. And if we get a remix of that section of the OST, that'd be fucking awesome. Lastly, we have Chaos Island from Sonic Frontiers. This one is interesting. This one is the most out of left field for me, as I'm sure most of us were pretty confused about and a little shocked. I'm curious to see how they're going to integrate it, especially since Frontiers had that open zone model, and it was basically just a sandbox with different 2D sections strewn about. But from what I've seen, we're going to be going around the island, kind of almost as if Shadow is chaining together a bunch of 2D, 3D platforming sections into a stage. So I feel like they essentially just took the aesthetics, the sounds, and things like that from Frontiers and just made a stage out of it. So I can't really complain about it. I'm just gonna have to wait and see, like everybody else, and find out if they made Chaos Island a better Chaos Island. So now that we've got all the confirmed stages out of the way, there are two stages in particular that I want to see return and get that generation's makeover. And I say two because I believe the original game, the base game, had 12 stages, I believe, so 24 if you count Acts 1 and 2. But for the sake of argument, we'll focus on Modern Sonic's 12. So I'm assuming Shadow's campaign is going to be roughly half the size of the base game. So that's why I go with 2. And they've already shown 4. Anyway, my thought is Westopolis. Now, we as players and fans have played this goddamn stage so many times that I think it would be hilarious if they made us play it even more. But this time, not that it was a bad stage before, because I really don't hate Westopolis that much at least, but it'll be way better. And instead of having an objective-based level, it'll be more get to the goal, at least in boost style gameplay. I also feel like Westopolis has a lot of significance to Shadow as a character, since that was the first stage we played as him in his game. This is where we were first introduced to the Black Arms and starting to delve into Shadow's history and how he was made. So I feel like there's a lot that can be brought to the table, whether it's involving the plot or not, through that stage. This may be where we can get some more information from Doomseye, like we saw in the demo and Radical Highway and things like that. So I feel like this would be a really integral point to have in Generations. Lastly, this is a weird one in my humble opinion. Sunset Hill. Why Sunset Hill? Honestly, I don't have a really strong argument for this one. I figure Shadow was playable in Forces technically with the episode Shadow DLC. He went through Sunset Hill. I don't know. I mean, Sunset Hill, it looked pretty. And I think it could look even more pretty with the level of care that this game appears to be getting. In my mind, when I lie awake at 3 a.m. dreaming about Sonic stages, I imagine a revamped Sunset Hill being akin to Unleash's Apotos Day, blasting through a cityscape, knocking over chairs, tables, flying through things. Except this time, instead of in broad daylight, it's at sunset, and the city's different, and on fire, and there's debris everywhere. So instead of ruining somebody's lunch, they're already dead. I think it'd be really fun. Maybe it can happen post-invasion from Eggman, or maybe it's happening during like it was in the original game. I feel like either way, with the style of generation, Sunset Hill would be awesome to look at, awesome to play, and like I said, Shadow's been through it, so it would technically be a part of his memory and all that, and he saw his Phantom Ruby clone thing. Forces was like a fucking fever dream, man. Alright, my leg has lost all feeling, so let's talk about bosses. We've got 2 bosses confirmed. We'll start with BioLizard, the original Ultimate Life Form. Pretty significant. I do like the in-boss dialogue that we got to see in the demo. I can't remember exactly what it said, but something about putting him out of his misery. That is fucking awesome. Like, that is raw. And that's what I like about it. I mean, he's still an ass, but he's honest. And it's really nice to get some characterization again from these characters, letting them show some personality. It seems like they're taking some liberties with changing up how exactly the boss fights play out, which is good. You don't want things to be too much alike. So we get to utilize Chaos Control, and there's new mechanics. And there's even a section where it seems like BioLizard like runs along the ceiling or jumps on the ceiling or the wall, and he's shooting lasers at you, and you have to use Doom Spears or something like that to knock him down and continue the damage. I also believe there was a Dark Souls health bar at the bottom of the screen, or maybe the top. God, my dreams are starting to blend into reality, and I don't remember which one is real. If that's not real, just ignore me, but I'm almost positive that I actually saw that. I'm pretty sure we're getting a remix of Supporting Me, the BioLizard fight theme song, so that's always nice. But if we are keeping original song inspiration to remix, then What I'm Made Of is gonna go fucking crazy. What is the theme song for, you may ask? The best boss ever, aesthetically. Metal Overlord. My boy came up and brought his way back. The only form of Metal Sonic we got to see in the base game was classic. Now we get to see modern. Kinda. I don't care. I like Metal Overlord, Metal Madness. He's just, I mean, it's a giant metal dragon that Metal Sonic turned into. It don't get much better than that. This boss seems to take place in the water using the Doom Surf ability, that's what I'm going to call it now, instead of in the sky like we did originally, since before we played as Super Sonic and Tails and Knuckles as Golden Balls. But in the original boss fight, the spectacle was there. Metal is throwing ships and planes and all kinds of craziness. So I hope they keep that level of intensity and that spectacle, even though we're not playing as a Super Hedgehog. And from what I could see in the gameplay, it seems a little gimmicky, where you have a segment of you dodge his attacks and things like that, but that's pretty standard. But I think having Shadow on the surf is going to add a little bit of stakes. I'm not sure if he can get hit in that mode or form. I don't know if Shadow can swim. I'm guessing not. But it seems like the fight is going to have a little bit of give and take between Shadow and Metal, and I think that'll be really interesting depending on how they do it. Maybe they can take some pages from Frontiers where you have to chase the boss down before you can actually do anything. Either way, I'm excited. Now, there are 3 bosses that I hope to see in the game, and we'll start with Devil Doom. Devil Doom was the final boss from Shadow the Hedgehog. I feel like this boss can be maybe the final boss in Shadow's campaign in Generations, although I feel like maybe it'll be some kind of conflict with the Time Eater. I'm not sure. Apparently, this whole thing is supposed to take place while Sonic is having his adventure with his mini-me. But Devil Doom was a pretty climactic fight for Shadow, and it had a lot of story significance. He had to deal with this Vader, you know? I'm not sure if they'll have Shadow be super. I feel like maybe if it's kind of towards the end, maybe if that is his final boss fight for his campaign, he can go super. That'd be really nice to see Super Shadow again. Although, can he go super? Well, no, because he doesn't have the Chaos Emeralds if Sonic gets the Chaos Emerald. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Seeing Super Shadow would be really cool, but I think regardless, Devil Doom would be a perfect fight, super important in Shadow's history. The next boss that I feel like we might see is the Night Titan from Frontiers on Chaos Island. Is that the Titan on Chaos? I should know this because I literally just finished replaying Frontiers. I'm pretty sure it's the Night. I would really want to see how Shadow would handle that situation. Maybe he can't defeat it, since in Frontiers only Supersonic could do anything, but maybe there's some kind of gimmick to it where you complete the stage. I think it'd be really funny if they somehow threw in a little callback to Sir Lancelot from Black Knight, since Shadow was his counterpart. I don't really have too much else to say about him. I don't really have too much to go on with the Knight. But the last boss that I really want to see is Sonic, actually, on the Ark. Just like in Sonic Adventure 2, depending on whose side you're playing, you get to see that fight or that race from a different perspective. And in the base game of Generations, we played as Sonic, obviously, racing against Shadow on the Ark. So it'd be really fun if we got to do that again from Shadow's perspective, just like you did before in Sonic Adventure 2. It would also be cool to see Shadow utilizing his new Doom powers in that fight, since we got to see never before seen abilities from both of them in Generations. Oh, I almost forgot. There is a secret boss that Sega sent over in a DM to me, and it's called the subscribe button. And then it has this fun gimmick where like you have to hit the like button in order to do damage to the boss. And in classic game fashion, you have to hit it 3 times, but don't tell them that I told you. So the plot, I don't really know. I don't know. And to be completely honest, I won't say that I care as much about the plot as I do the other 2 things in this video. But I am excited for the Dark Beginnings animation. Pretty sure it's not out yet, at least at the time of recording, but when it drops, I will be there. I do hope that we get to see more information about Shadow's past, maybe get some different perspectives. But I do really want to get more dialogue, or even if it's like hidden stuff. I want to get more information about what Shadow does outside of what we see in the games. Like, does he swim, like I brought up earlier? Does he like ice cream? Does he like Swiss rolls? If you get that reference, you're awesome. Overall, I just hope that we get to see more information about Shadow. Kind of like we got more dialogue through Sonic in Frontiers. I think it'd be really fun to have maybe some collectibles that sprinkles in some information to maybe fill in some gaps or give us like some slice of life stuff with Maria or just life on the Ark. Kind of like in Unleashed, where we got to see the little cutscenes with Sonic and Chip fighting over food all day at different times of the day in different countries. Have that, but the focus is on Shadow and Maria, day-to-day life up in space. I think that'd be really fun and really interesting and give players that extra incentive to go back and find all these little hidden treasures. But I don't know. I'm just a guy. I'm not making the game. But this is everything that I really hope to see. Let me know down below what you guys hope to see, and hopefully we'll all be right. But if I don't get to see a Dark Chow, I swear to God, I'm gonna find Mr. Sega, and I'm gonna shove my foot so far up his ass.